Welcome to Improv Your Parenting, the art of turning parenting into play. Today we're joined by Burgert Kirsten. During working hours, Burgert helps people connect through shared purpose and navigate complex challenges. The rest of the time, he co-parents 4 energetic kids with his wife, Lucille. On select evenings, he teaches improvisation, both for the stage and for everyday life. Across all these roles, a few constants remain: playfulness, connection, and a deep love of learning. Burgert, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Jeremy.
I start off every interview with one question. It is, what role do kids play in your life, and what influence does improv have in that interaction?
I was a kid myself, so played a big role in my life. I have 4 kids. I work daily with ups who used to be kids and sometimes are very childish themselves and very immature, and they all have their inner child and their free child still within them. And I also always want to connect with that part of them as well. So yeah, I think I interact with humans quite often in all spheres of life.
Tell me about that. What does that look like?
I wake up in the morning next to my wife. Yeah, sleeping. I'm always pretty close to another human, and our 2-year-old sleeps in our room, not too far from us. So often lately I've been waking up very early, like at 5 a.m. I have a call with a friend in Australia, so I interact with him, and we talk about applied improv. We talk about playing and systems, how they relate. Usually then I take my dog and my 2-year-old out for a walk in the park. And then I go to work. I interact with lots of people. I work for a big retail tech platform here in the Netherlands and Belgium. I'm a team coach. I work with teams, helping them to collaborate, to connect and co-create and solve challenging problems. So for me, the improv part is really about play. I want to create space for people to play, because if you're in a playful state of mind, you're the most able to collaborate, connect, and co-create and solve challenging problems. So just trying to create play space for people so they can do full work together. And then when I've done that, I go home. Anyway, so that's how I interact kind of on a daily basis with.
Sounds like on the family level as well as the professional level, you are bringing play to the interactions, to the experiences.
Absolutely.
What got you into play?
I think the moment I was born, like all humans, I started play. Just that's our natural state, right? To learn is play. I think a lot of people lose a lot of that. I think what really after high school, I joined this performing arts touring group. We did youth development across South Africa, performing at schools. It was a very playful group of people. I was in the team doing pre-primary school performances, like clowning and puppets. And I wanted to be in the high school team. For me, that was the cool team. They had a band. They did cool dance stuff and cool music. I thought that was a cool group. I always wanted to be a rock star, but I didn't have the talent, the musicality to be a rock star. So I ended up being in this pre-primary. My first role was a clown. I ended up really enjoying those performances for kids, for these little kids, and this interactions with them after the show. And now they would totally believe. One character I played was a big bunny with bunny ears and a bunny suit, and how they would believe I was a real big talking bunny. It's just amazing. And how they would love hugging me and chasing me around the play area after the show. Then to raise money for this group, because it's a non-profit kind of thing, we did fundraising. We did these breakfast shows, basically, where we showed adults who had money what we did. So we showed every team did something. And so me and one of the other guys in my team, we would do these clown skits that we would do for the kids, but we did it for the adults. And that's where I've discovered improv, because we never did the same thing. We took the basic structure of the clown skit, but we just improved, and we'd always use any props we could find wherever we were and bring it into the show as well. For example, the skit was about the one clown had got food and the other clown didn't have food. So the clown who didn't have food told the other one to go away because they hid a treasure somewhere. And while they're gone, they eat their
Get the
food. And then the skit always was, he comes back and he says, "Oh, I couldn't find the treasure." But we always improved that he always found something. So you would always go off stage, and whatever you find, you said, "I found the treasure." So one time he came back with a real cat. He found a cat. The other clown found a real cat. I found a cat because a treasure in Afrikaans. We did this in Afrikaans. Skat. A cat is a
You found
cut.
the cat.
So I like skat and cut. I found the cut. But anyway, so that's where I discovered how much fun it was to improvise and how adults loved it. Like these people, adults, would sit there and they would be in stitches. And that positive reinforcement of how adults are enjoying this thing that's for kids, I guess that's where my love for improv started.
And where did that take you from that initial recognition
Yeah.
of, wow, there's something powerful here? Where
Yeah.
did the path look from there?
So when I was part of that group, we also did personal development stuff. And there was a lady that came and did something around purpose. I just remember discovering through her process that my purpose was bringing joy. Like joy was my purpose. And then after the 2 years being part of this group, I went to university. I couldn't be a rock star, so I thought, what's the next thing? I could be the guy on the radio playing the cool rock music. So
the DJ.
And so I combined that with joy. I thought, I'm just gonna spread joy through the airwaves. So I went to study communication and media studies, but I also I needed another major subject, choosing organizational psychology. And after doing that, I realized, wow, there's other ways to spread joy than through the airwaves. Like people spend most of their day at work. Work can really suck. If I can help people find their own passion and purpose in their work, that's a way to bring joy. So at university, I met these 4 other guys. They were 2 brothers and 2 best friends. And I made friends with them. And we were watching Whose Line Is It Anyway every Wednesday in one of the dorm rooms of one of these guys. And then one day we just said, we could do this. But by the way, these 4 guys were super funny. They were just the funniest people. I would just always laugh so much when I were with them. The one guy was a youth pastor at a church. And he said, let's just do an improv show for the youth at his church. Let's do it. Basically, we watched Whose Line Is It Anyway, took the games and just copied them. It was so much fun. The kids loved it. And then it was not just kids coming to the shows, it was students as well. So we started pitching it like the show is for students, for everyone. We ended up needing a bigger venue. We started performing in this conservatorium, really nice venue. Sometimes it was packed, and we showed every second Friday. And at some point we thought, should we learn how to do this proper? Because we're just improvising. We didn't know about yes and we didn't know about make your partner look good. We knew it was the games, and we had a lot of fun, and people liked it.
One of the things I love about that is you didn't need to know all that stuff to do that, did you? It just sort of came naturally to you by watching it and being like, well, this is what makes sense, so let's just do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to put a pin on that because that's a really cool point. Please continue.
But then my sister was studying applied theater at a different university with a PhD in applied theater. But she was also improv. I was talking to her and she said she can give us a workshop on improv. Now, her training was more on like Augusta Boal, so Theatre of the Oppressed, Forum Theatre. She came and gave us a workshop and we learned some principles of improv. We started applying that and that was cool. Then I went to America and did stuff at summer camps, at youth conferences. And while I was there, after 4 years of studying organizational psychology, one I remember is we did performances, but at this one summer camp, they said, can we do workshops? And I thought, let's do a improv workshop. I've done one once with my sister. There was another girl on my team. She studied drama and she knew how to teach drama. We just said, let's do improv with the kids. So I went to the library. I was living in Joplin, Missouri at that stage. Went to the library, got some books on improv. And I remember one was the Ultimate Improv Handbook or something like that. So found Truth in Comedy.
Yes.
I read those books and I'm like, there's some method behind this madness. There's some principles. And as I was reading these books, I made the connection between that and organizational psychology. Like, hey, it's talking about innovation and teamwork in organizations. So with improv, I can see that they've already cracked the code for that. They do this under a lot of uncertainty and pressure. The basic thing is, how do you play? Just play together. But there's some ways you can play better by making your partner look good. Yes, and committing 100%. And I decided, okay, when I go back to South Africa, I'm going to do my master's in organizational psychology and see if what I think can be proven empirically. I went back to South Africa and I made that the focus of my research to see, does doing improv really make teams more collaborative and innovative. In that year, while I was studying my master's, I also went back to the US to do a summer intensive at the IO Theatre. Really, like, that had a huge impact on my improv and how I teach improv. Like, I had great teachers there. I learned there, I still use so often.
It sounds like kids were an initial part of this experience for you anyway.
Yeah.
And at some point, you meet the woman who will become your wife and you have
Exactly.
kids. Tell me about how the two of you brought that experience that you've had. Does she have improv background as well?
She's done some of my courses. I want to be a rock star. She wanted to be a famous Hollywood actor.
Perfect.
She's an absolute creative. She's really a poet and she's like a writer. She's an amazing writer. And she's more introverted than me. She loves food. I mean, not so much the eating of it, but the preparation and making it really good for you. And we actually, the year we got married, well, that was 2010. And we met through one of the guys who started this improv group with me. I met her the first time. She was doing PR for this wine estate. A couple of wine estates, but for this specific wine estate, she wanted to do a show and she wanted an improv show. So the first time we met, we were having coffee at a cafe in Stellenbosch. That's where we were staying. And she was talking to me. I was running this improv group at the university and she asked if we could do a show at this wine estate. So that's where improv brought us together.
Improv introduced you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Created your family.
We fell in love, got married in 2010. And then 2010 was the Amsterdam AIN. So we sent in a proposal to do improv cooking for couples workshop. Because based on improv principles, bringing in food and cooking. One of the other guys that started this improv group with me was a relationship therapist, imago therapist. So, and he did some like relationship counseling, marriage preparation kind of sessions with us based on imago. And some of that principles, that relationship principles, we combined that with improv and then bring in with cooking to that conference. Shortly after that, we fell pregnant. Our first pregnancy were twins. And I was thinking about this yes and, right? That's core to improv. And that's all about accepting and building. But part of accepting is letting go. Like really, like to accept something fully, you often have to let go of something else. So for us, first, like, Okay, we're pregnant. Yes, and there's another one. We have to let go of the idea that there's only one, to embrace that there's two. And then the two were born, Lila and Kari. Lila, the name means divine play. From Sanskrit or Hindi wisdom tradition, the Lila is
Okay.
this divine play. This is how
Nice.
God creates, is through play. But I just liked the name Lila, the
Yeah.
sound of it. And then when I heard the meaning, I was like, yes, I
Yeah.
love it. We wanted another name. I wanted a name that means grace, but I didn't like the name Grace as a name.
Okay.
So we looked up what in other languages. What does the word grace sound like in other languages? And then we found it in Greek. I just put in Google Translate and hit listen button. What does it sound like? And it sounded like pronounced like Kari or something. But we just in
Okay.
our Afrikaans accents just say Kari. Like that's a cool name, Kari. So we call it Kari. Grace is the acceptance of
Yes.
failure, of imperfection. It's
Wow.
for such a beautiful thing that I learned through improv. Accepting
Yeah.
imperfection and impermanence, and so then the twins were born.
I'm picking up on, and I think you're definitely trying to demonstrate this, is improv was infused not only into the development of the relationship between you and your wife, but then into the construction of the family as that was building. So
Yeah,
it literally is sort of the blood of this whole construct is
yeah,
this sense of play, this sense of accepting grace and adding on and building and just being joyful in the interaction.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's something I haven't gotten yet in any of these interviews, is that both intentionality and acceptance of the eventuality that
Yeah,
takes place.
yeah. I remember before I met my wife, I was reading The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. My mom was giving me all these kinds of books. There's another book about Jesus, but the core message was Jesus had a sense of playfulness and wonder. Wonder. And there's people, I think, Eckhart, those kind of people, talking about this new consciousness. That there's like this new consciousness emerging in human consciousness. And I always thought improv is just the artistic expression of that, the performance artistic expression. And you see it in other kinds of expression, like music. I met a guy who does this amazing jazz, not just jazz, but musical improvisation. And that book by Stephen McManamish called Free Play. Someone recommended that
Uh-huh.
book to me way back. Free Play, and he's a
Yeah.
musical composer. He plays the violin, but the same,
Uh-huh.
exactly the same principles that we teach in improv. So twins, everyone's like, whoa, one is pretty hectic, two, that's, and that time I was reading Night Watch. Do you know Terry Pratchett? And he has this one motto: just do the job in front of you. And that was my motto when those twins were born. Don't think
Yeah.
about what high school they need to go to. Don't think about will they be
God.
able to make friends. Just do the job in front of you. That helped me so much. At some point,
Yeah.
I realized, because people always tell you how difficult it is to be a parent. And I realized it's only as difficult as your resistance to accept the reality of it. And again, that's accepting
Yeah.
reality. If you're gonna go yes but into it, yes, but I used to like to go out on a Friday night, then you're gonna
You're going to
have a
struggle.
really hard time. And this is I recently learned this kind of sequence. You cannot get to full acceptance. First, you have to tolerate. Then you can start to accept and then embrace, like really embracing it. There's a lot more to the story because that was only the first two.
One of the things you mentioned earlier is the idea of letting go.
Oh,
And
yes.
that is definitely part of the acceptance. You were saying, I used to go out on Friday night and say, you know what? Let's let go of that for right now. There
Yeah.
may be a day in the future where that can happen again. But for the moment, dealing with this thing in front of me, whatever it is,
Yeah. Life in
I'm
front
going
of me. Embrace
to
life
life
in
in
front
front
of
of me.
me.
There are these two children that need me.
Yeah.
Oh, what do I do with that? How do I do
Absolutely.
that in the way it's needed. You said you have 2 additional children now, so you have
Yes.
4 total.
Yeah.
Wow. So you went from person to person to now zone, but you're doubled. How do you and your wife embrace the opportunity that is in front of you with 4 kids?
It's the reality in front of us with 4 kids. Sometimes we can make it sound like it's easy. And I think one thing me and my wife always said, we don't optimize for comfort.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Comfort is not the most important thing to us. So, and here's where we had this conversation the first time. Maybe to backtrack a bit, we asked ourselves, what do we value as a couple? And one of the things were adventure. Adventure, we value adventure. But if you, adventure means you give up safety and security. You cannot have, there's always a bit of risk and discomfort in adventure. Sleeping in cozy hotels is not very adventurous. Sleeping on top of mountains, under the stars, that's it. That's adventure, but that's not as comfortable as a 5-star hotel. That reminds me of what Keith Johnstone said. He said, you get yes people and no people. Yes people are rewarded by the adventures they have, and no people are rewarded by the safety they attain. We decided we want to be adventurous people. That means we don't optimize for comfort. So the twins were a C-section, right? And then after that, when we fell pregnant again with our second pregnancy, third child, we decided she wanted to have a natural birth. She did not want a C-section. It was a horrible experience for her. She learned a lot. She had less fear. But in the South African private medical system, they optimize for safety and comfort, right? And efficiency and profit. They don't optimize for what's best for mother and baby. Maybe what's safe for mother and baby, but again, safety is not always the best option. I think too much safety is very dangerous. First, she had to find a gynecologist willing to let her have a natural birth. So you need to add a bit more risk. And then we found one. And then this doctor still wanted to push her in a certain direction that she did not want to go. And the doctor was like, but this will be the easiest. We had this conversation so well. My wife needed to really find her voice to say to the doctor, no. To do what I want to do what I want, and comfort is not the most important thing I value. I don't have to look for me what's the most comfortable thing for me. Till this day, we often have this conversation. Are we choosing comfort here, or are we choosing what's really important to us? Adventure, might it be learning? Our lives have been very difficult.
But also probably very exciting and make good stories, right?
Exactly. Best stories, but much better stories. You have to choose when you can also be too dangerous. I mean, you need to create safety for you. Safety versus adventure. It's also polarities that you need to balance. And yeah, my name actually means fortress, which means safe place.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
So I always think of how do I create just enough safety so people feel safe enough to be adventurous and creative and vulnerable so they can connect. But it was just enough safety. Like that tension between, if you make it too safe, because a fortress is too structured, it's too safe, then you lose the magic of creativity.
It sounds like you and your wife really talk through intention and talk through what are we going to do now based on what's in front of us. Did you talk through, or do you continue to talk through, what is our objective in terms of being parents? What do we want from being parents? And what do we want our kids from the experience of being their parents?
And there's often tension because I want them to learn and have experiences. She wants to give them, she wants to keep them safe and protect them.
Yeah.
There's often tension. We have quite a bit of tension. And I'm sometimes too much in the future, and she's a lot in the past. And we're trying to find each other. So I think we invest a lot of time in trying to understand each other and trying to hear each other. And it doesn't always work. There's a lot of conflict as well. We embrace conflict.
What is your objective as a parent?
Yeah.
How would you define success as a parent?
I want to create is for my kids to learn, to grow, to become
Okay.
wiser, to become wiser.
Yeah.
I see a need for wise people in the world.
Yes.
I see a lot
Yes,
of
please.
I see a lot of foolishness, sleepy, sheepy people.
Mm.
We need wise people, and I think we become wise through play.
Yeah.
So I want to create experiences for my kids so they can grow.
What does that look like? How do you play with kids?
How do I play with them?
Yeah.
I am playful with them. That's like one. And so we play board games. We often play improv games around the dinner table.
Yeah.
We play improv. I have a kid who struggles a bit with anxiety and struggle to sleep. I play games like 1, 2, 3, snap, clap, stomp to help them become more present and playful. With my 2-year-old, when he's in a no mood and doesn't want to put on his pants, doesn't want to put on his shoes, I just start playing a character. I make him laugh and he
Yeah.
becomes open and he so playing characters, especially animals, he loves that. And
Yeah.
as soon as he starts laughing, or I put his pants on my head and pretend they are ears and
Oh,
he
they
starts
love
laughing.
that.
I put my hands through the legs of the pants and they're like, "Arr, I'm gonna eat your feet," and then he laughs and then I get his pants on his legs. So for me, play. So this is recently. I mean, there's all these polarity models like left brain, right brain, or
Mhm.
uh, Daniel Kahneman's System One, System Two, the Self One and Self Two from the Inner Game of Tennis, and then a recent one I learned from a guy, Nick Jankel. He talks about these two archetypes of two modes, and apparently it's
Okay.
also based on different neural systems. The one is control and protect, and the
Mhm.
other one is connect, create. And you need both, right? It's pretty accurate. You can totally relate it.
Yeah.
And I can see how when you're in fear, you go into protect and control. When you in play, you're in create and connect. And I think as people, there's a lot of fear, especially lately, and people move more towards control and protect in situations
Mhm.
where create and connect would be a much better way of dealing with the situation. And I
Mhm.
see this in parenting a lot. I mean, we want to keep our kids safe, so we do a lot of protect and control, I think, in situations that is that really necessary? Do I really have to force my kid into his clothes? Do I really need to be on time? I be a bit later, but be there connected and joyful. We live in this fearful, rushed state a lot, and we parent in that way from that control and protect mode. But we can
Yeah.
connect and create in that play mode. That's where learning takes place, where creativity and
Yeah.
innovation and new ways of thinking happens when you're in that playful, create and connect mode. When you're in
Yeah.
control, you cannot think of new, you just do more of the same thing.
What do you have to let go of to no longer be in that control and protect space?
Well, the first thing that came to mind was you need to let go of too much safety. The funny thing is, you need to feel safe to be able to create. And
You can't do that without any form of safety.
I think a lot of what makes us feel unsafe is our unresolved trauma. Maybe ancestral trauma. We get so anxious about certain things. Is it really that dangerous? Is that really that scary? So we approach it, control and protect instead of. I'm actually very safe. But some of it is just our own trauma, our own fear, and then the beliefs and assumptions we've built up over time that
Mhm.
also helps us feel safe because it creates a certain predictability and certainty about life and reality, and that makes us safe. And but those beliefs also, we protect those beliefs, and we're trying to control to keep it all in a way that we feel safe. But
Can you tell me about a time then that you have struggled with
oh
finding
yes,
the balance between those tensions when you've been with your kids and
this
trying to do whatever
story.
it is?
So where I get into control and protect is when it's around
Mhm.
finances.
I'm right there with you.
I sit with that Excel spreadsheet. I do the numbers. How are we going to survive, you know? There
You and I
needs
can
to
have
be
a
more.
total another podcast about
Yeah, exactly. More money needs to come in than go out, and I see more going out than coming. I can feel my whole body contracting, and these kind of conversations with my wife's always very difficult because she's less in that mode. She's more free in with money.
Did you have a financially insecure childhood?
I felt insecure financially. Memories.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it definitely comes from somewhere.
Mhm.
It's going to be a long story, but I think it's a
Please.
beautiful story. So after we had 3 kids, I was like, this is good. I'm happy. No more is needed. My wife, like the youngest was maybe 2 years, she said, I don't think we're done yet. I have a deep calling that I should have another child. I look at the numbers and having another one does not make sense to me. I'm thinking about it rationally, or like one of my friends, I think with my man brain. Having kids in the first place is not very rational anyway.
You have to take a leap.
Yeah. My wife was going through a difficult time. She was having panic attacks. She was quite stressed. I said, we cannot. I felt I need to protect her from this. I thought, that's just biological instincts. I should protect her from that, and we should not have another child. And I mean, I did that for long. Like, I was really like, I felt I was protecting us. And maybe that was what was needed then. I don't know. Maybe that was exactly what was needed. We weren't feeling super safe in South Africa at that time. Financially, it was not going to the up and the right. It was quite a challenging time. And then we got the opportunity to move to the Netherlands. I got a great job at a fun company, and it was looking better. I said to her, you know, if things change, I won't close that door permanently.
Yeah.
Let's keep on having the conversation. Then our youngest was 5, 6. My wife's almost 40. She said to me, time is running out if we still want a fourth. This was just when Corona also started. And that was for our family, was a wonderful time. I know of people, we had less expenses. I know for a lot of people, it was a horrible time. But we were together as a family a lot more. It was great. I worked 5 days a week from the office. Now I could work from home. A lot more time with my kids. Life was more simple, I think. It was less choices to make. That was just my personal experience. We spent less money in that time. So I had lots of debt to pay off in South Africa. I could pay that off. So my anxiety around money was less. So we started this conversation again. I stepped a bit towards her. That was a great time to just hear each other. But I was still feeling no. Anyway, we ended up getting a dog instead. Bad choice. 2 years later, my wife said, okay, I'm almost 42. That 42 is I'm not going to try for another one. And then I was like, okay. I always, in these kind of things, I always zoom out a bit. Imagine myself 10 years from now. What would I think? So first thing, maybe it's not just instincts or biology that wants her to have another child. Maybe there is something deeper. Because the way she speaks about it is such a deep knowing that I'm like, okay, there is something bigger that life is wanting her to have another child. And I don't want to be the asshole that just blocked her, right? And that she would go through the rest of her life resenting me or just feeling so sad that she never did the thing that she feels life is calling her for. So I said to her, okay, I'll open the door for this possibility. Like it was 3 months before her 42nd birthday. I said, okay. Like my other friend says, swim on the dangerous side of the shark nets, on the other side. And we opened the possibility for that to happen. 3 months happened.
Okay.
And then after 3 months, my wife tells me, you know what? The feeling is gone. I'm okay. She says, because you step towards me, she feels so connected with me. She feels so close to me, and she also feels it's complete. That need to have a fourth child feels like it's gone. And I'm like, thank goodness. Now we can put that to bed and relax and be the five of us, and we can continue with our lives, accept that reality and move on.
But that's not what happened, is it?
No, because you know why that feeling was gone?
She was pregnant.
So when
Nice.
when we found out she's pregnant, both of us were like, at first, oh yeah. Then
Yeah.
my man brain kicked in, my protect and control mind just came online, full of judgment, like full. You cannot drive a car and just let go of the steering wheel and see what happens. You gotta stay in control. You gotta make sure there's people in your car. You gotta keep them safe. I was judging myself like, you were irresponsible. And then also the other judgment was like, the climate crisis. The one of the first things to do to help with the climate crisis is not have so many children. You're bad for the environment, irresponsible.
So you're beating the crap out of yourself.
And I'm walking. I'm like, oh, what have I done? Yeah. But luckily I have this little Shih Tzu that I take out for walks. And that's also when I sometimes also let go. And at some point I realized, geez, this is a crap story I'm telling myself. Yeah. Is this the story I want to tell my kid? This is not the story I want to live. So I turned that story from judgments. I guess I made the switch from control and protect to create and connect. Yeah. And there was the story of wonder and beauty and mystery. I mean, this whole thing is still such a mysterious thing. Yeah. How they grow in a woman's body, and that is such a beautiful, amazing, wonderful mystery. So I just switched to that story, and it changed everything. Nice. I had so many worries, like, about money and all of that. And then I changed that story, and we had this beautiful home birth this time. Almost no intervention. We met this amazing midwife. She allowed my wife to naturally give birth at home, unassisted. She was there if needed. It was such a beautiful experience. And his name is Kai, named after one of the Ninjago characters. Lego.
So you're no longer doing.
I asked my 8-year-old son at that stage to name him. Not really. Not he. We were also just coming up with names that sounded nice, and Kai was a name, and it means ocean. Ocean is symbolic of the unknown. In mythology, the ocean is like this other world where there's magic and mystery. The ocean means
an adventure.
And adventure, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely something special about your fourth child. The place and time from which Kai came, it seems as if Kai's meant to be.
Absolutely. And he's such a joy. There's one word to describe him as joy.
Nice.
But I also feel like I'm leaving out my son because he is also, his name is Joa. Maybe a quick story. He was also a bit of a surprise, fearful. Also worrying about money and all of that.
Natural state for
most
dads,
of the, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe,
crap, I got to make this work. How do I make this work?
We go into that protect mode, and keep everyone safe. Yeah. Then we go into control. It's just not helpful most of the time.
Hell.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes you need to This kid's going to run in front of a car. You have to take control and take them out of the way. I remember being in this fearful state and stress state. We lived next to a mountain. I would go into the mountain. That's where I found sanity. So I climbed up this big oak tree. I was sitting in this oak tree, and I saw a dad and his year-old son cycling with their mountain bikes past the oak tree up the mountain. I thought, wow, that could be me and my still unborn one day. That shifted the story I was telling myself. Yeah. And I guess part bringing back improv really helps to develop this mental agility. You can notice the stories and you can pick a story you like. You don't have to be to a specific story, a story you tell yourself. You can also co-create stories with other people so much better. Involve people in your story, and you can also shift the roles you play in those stories. You don't always have to be the controller protector. You can be the creator connector, and you can flex and choose the one that is best for the situation. To end this story, this son of mine went through a difficult time last year. He turned 10, and the reality of the world started coming into his awareness. It was quite overwhelming.
Tough
Yeah.
time.
And one thing my wife did that was really helpful is help him get off gaming. You see kids escaping from reality through screens and gaming. She helped him to realize it's not helping him. And instead of gaming, they had conversations where he could really what he was going through. We realized he needed to be more in his body, be more outside in nature. The one thing he said he wanted to do was mountain bike.
Wow.
This
That
one
goes back to
day,
your
exactly. Me and him, we didn't even have mountain bikes, and not like the Netherlands have mountains anyway. But it's just trail biking. We went with our regular bikes and hit the trails without helmets or anything. But I know I just thought back of that day sitting in that oak tree. It felt
beautiful.
so good.
That's as if life is trying to help you create the story that is going to unfold, showing you the picture of this could be if you open yourself up to it.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah.
I love that.
I loved what you said about life. I always like the mirror game.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite games because you can relate it to so many different things. But I always tell people, imagine the other person is life, and you are in this dance with life. Life wants to connect with you and wants you to be connected to it, but you have to dance with it. Playing mirror with your kids is a great exercise.
Yes.
From when your baby is born and mirroring their facial expressions. It's also how babies learn, is through the mother mirroring them. There's all these studies about a child doing stuff with their face and then the mother just staring at them blank. Traumatic that is for a child, actually. Instead of mirroring the child, it helps you really pay attention to your child. That was one of your questions also, is like, what as improv helped me with parenting, and this part of the conversation I had with my wife this morning is like really about without judgment, because kids can say stuff that can trigger you, especially if you judge. Just listen to the content, but you don't really listen to what's underneath that. And if you can listen without judgment and without being offended by what they say, you give them space to discover for themselves what's going on in them, because they're really discovering what it is to be human and what sense of my outer world and my inner world. So often there's so much turmoil in the inner world that they don't have the words for. They don't know how to express it, and it comes out abrasive and insulting or disrespectful. If you can just listen, mirror, you learn about them and they learn about themselves. They don't have to learn about you, and they don't have to learn from you. You just have to create the space for them where they can learn for themselves.
That's a really powerful statement, because that then also gets to the letting go of who you need to be in order to let them become who they will be.
Yeah, you have to you have to let go so much of your own stories. But my other 13-year Kari, she's gonna be a rock star, and I'm making sure she's gonna live my dream.
Absolutely. You'll be at those concerts.
I'm taking her to that guitar lessons.
Totally.
She will be a rock
That's
star.
a retirement plan, really. I love it. I want to finalize this because this has been such a great conversation. If you were interacting with someone who just realized, oh my God, I have a kid on the way, how would you help them recognize a path to play for themselves and their family that might help them be the parent they want to be?
Sure. There's a few easy answers. One is read the book Playful Parenting. That's a great book. That can switch people on to, oh, there's a different way of parenting. The other easy one is do an improv class before you become a parent. Because it's a practice, right? You have to experience it to know it. I don't think I can tell anyone anything that's going to help them.
They have to go through the process. They have to go through it and feel
Yeah,
it.
or you have to think back to when they were a kid, how would they would have liked to be parented. I think that's helpful to remember you were a kid yourself. All the stuff your parents did that you hated. And some of it you think, oh, now it makes sense. But some of it is like, yeah, I will never do that. But when you're triggered, when you feel fearful and you go back in your control and protect mode, only do what you know and have learned. Even though you hated it, you'll still do, because that's the only, because control and protect cannot think of new ways of doing things. It only does what it have learned. And if you can really think about, okay, what are the stuff my parents did that I loved and I still appreciate, but what are the things that were really not helpful? I'm not going to do that. I guess that's helpful.
One of the things that I think when you said that is how great would it be for someone who's new to parenting to be able to do scenario based play
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
situations that they might confront so
Yeah.
that they do know alternatives from what their parents did because they've played those out already.
Yeah. That's a fun
So
idea. I started this thing, Improv 4. My first course is Improv for Life, and there's Improv for Leaders, Improv for Teams, so Improv for Parents.
Yeah.
There was another thing I thought, oh, yeah, and Improv for Couples. Because as soon as you become a parent, you are pushed to the edge of chaos. Like,
And
really.
beyond.
And beyond. No, you're throwing over the edge.
So,
And it's sometimes it's just so nuts. It's so crazy. Then when you feel that insecurity because everything feels so chaotic, you go into control and protect mode. And that's not helpful. And I always teach people the ABC. A is for just become aware. Like, especially if you know, now I'm in control and protect. Is this actually what is needed right now? Or aware of the fear, aware that you're triggered. So A is for being aware. B is for breathe and body, because that's the only way you can switch modes, become present through breathing and getting into your body. Once you're aware, what can you do to get to just first take a breath, deep breathing, and what can I do to get into my body? And then C is for connect with your child, connect with what's happening in the moment, and then create. Like, wow, what can I create? And then the other thing, this is something, a hack that my wife and I, you know that game, What Are You Trying to Say?
I don't.
I've seen it on Whose Line Is It Anyway? But it's this
Okay.
game where the one person will say anything and the other one will completely overreact and say, oh, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say I'm a loser or whatever? And what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say I'm married to a loser and I have no taste in men and whatever? So that's a game that my wife and I played sometimes when it heats up and we come really. We
Diffuse.
just oh, what are you trying to say? We just amp it up even more and make it ridiculous.
Nice.
Gets you, because often when there's conflict is because both of you in control and protect, and you're trying to control each other and protect. Amp it up and make it ridiculous. Then you go into play.
Yeah.
And the other, my wife and I always said to each other, one day we're gonna write play about being parents of so many small kids. Just write a play about it, and it will be a very funny play. So what we started doing, I don't know if we will ever write this play, but it's been very helpful for us, because whenever it gets just nuts and crazy and it's like, what is going on here? We will just turn to each other. It's like, this would be such a great scene in our play one day.
Exactly. Capture that.
We need to remember this. Bob, it puts you outside and you look at it.
Yeah.
And you just see how funny it is. You can laugh about the situation. That releases the seriousness and the tension, and then you can laugh about it, and then you can
I love that as an anchor to pull yourself back into,
Mm.
I'm not under siege anymore. I'm looking
Yeah,
from the external side and being like, well, that's a silly situation.
exactly.
That's a beautiful approach to diffusing conflict, diffusing tension, diffusing fear.
So, Belina Raffi, she's a
Yes.
So she does this sustainable stand-up course. But anyway, she has these 4 principles. Love yourself, love your audience. And then this is the one I want to refer to is find the system silly. And that's exactly what this does. Because a family is really a system. And if you can see the system, that's another thing that's so helpful as a parent is to have a systemic view of your family. Not just your perspective, but to look at it as a system. And this, like, oh, this would be a great scene in our comedy play one day. It's to step out and see the system and find it silly, fun,
Yes.
and funny and ridiculous and beautiful. It's not just silly. Sometimes it's just beautiful to see how this system is. It's not perfect. But it's so alive and there's so much creativity in it, and there's so much. It's just a beautiful thing.
That sounds wonderful. And to be able to look at it as a system
Yeah.
and know that this thing, it's been able to thrive here.
Yeah.
And yet it's utterly dysfunctional, but yet functions.
It's just dysfunctional from some standard that I don't know who.
Exact, but it's found its way to function even with
Yeah.
all of that kind of
It's actually
craziness.
super in a way. It's
Yes, but it's its own thing, and no other
Yes.
system out there is going to be this.
No.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, Burgert, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation, for the insights, for just everything you've offered. If people want to learn more about you, where could they find that information so that they could reach out to learn, to see the work you've done and maybe have you help them?
I think the easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn. If you want to connect with me, I'm very happy to connect with people
Cool.
who want to have conversations. So, and thank you so much, Jeremy.